Hello and welcome to Not Safe for Work Prime Minister's Questions with Graham Hughes. Loads of messages already. Want to become famous by followers?
Before we come to Prime Minister's questions, I would like to point out that the British Sign Language interpretation of proceedings is available to watch on Parliament Live TV. We now start with questions to Prime Minister Dame Angela Regal.
Oh, Angela Regal's in first. The question. Go for it.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this week is Carers Week, and I'm sure the whole House will want to join me in thanking the millions of carers across the UK for all they do to support their loved ones. We've seen the vital role carers have played in our communities during the pandemic, and we all owe them a debt of gratitude.
Bullshit bingo again.
On adult social care, this government is committed to continuing to support carers. And Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings.
Oh, I'm glad Mark can hear.
Thank you very
Come on,
much,
Angela.
Mr. Speaker. May I associate myself with the Prime Minister's remarks about the importance of carers in our country. This week's events, Mr. Speaker, have demonstrated just how loathed this Prime Minister is.
Oh, yes! Oh, we hate you! Gobshite! Yeah, by his own party, 148 MPs fucking hate him.
As his administration is too distracted by its internal divisions to deal with the challenges we face, can the Prime Minister explain if 148 of his own backbenchers don't trust him, why on earth should the country?
I thank the Right Honourable Lady very much for her question, and I can assure her that in a long political career so far, I have, of course, picked up, barely begun, I have, of course, picked up political opponents all over the place.
Okay. No sound. This is a huge problem. Why is no sound outputting?
And that is because this government has done some very big and very remarkable things which they did not necessarily approve of.
Okay, cool. Can someone turn the sound back on, please? Don't say this before you check yourself.
Least of all her is going to stop us with getting
sound is. Oh God, it's had me absolutely panicking there. Okay, thanks for the super chat, Alex. He's getting on with the job. Vaccines. Draw a line. Get on with the job. Delivering.
Behind the Prime Minister.
What?
His determination to hold Ukrainian war criminals to account.
Now sound.
But is he aware that there are 5 alleged Rwandan war crimes perpetrators living freely in the UK who have been doing so now for 16 years and have neither been extradited nor put before the British courts under our existing laws?
You just send them to
As
Rwanda,
he prepares
can't you?
to go down to the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Rwanda, will he look carefully at this issue?
Rwanda,
because
never
it is bound
part
to be
of the
raised
British
with
Empire,
him?
by the way.
And will he reassure the House and the Rwandan government he takes
Still
these
part of the
matters
Commonwealth.
extremely seriously, and what has so far been justice massively
There
delayed
is sound,
for
but the
60
visual is
years
frozen.
will not be grotesquely denied?
Prime Minister.
I thank my right honourable friend for his question, and he raises an issue on which the UK has campaigned for a long time, and no country is more committed than we are to bringing
now.
war
Sorry, you had me
criminals to
panicking about
justice. I know
the
that
sound.
my right honourable friend, the Deputy Prime Minister, has raised the subject recently with the International Criminal Court.
Gobshite!
However, as he knows, and I will certainly, of course, study the case and take it up as appropriately, it is the subject of an ongoing investigation.
Gobshite! Gobshite!
We now come to the Leader of the Opposition, Keir Starmer.
Come on, Keir. Kick it in the goal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thump it in the goal.
I couldn't make out whether that introductory noise was cheers or boos. The trouble is, I don't know whether it's directed at me or him. I joined the Prime Minister in his comments about carers. Why did his Culture Secretary, I think hiding along the bench, say that successive...
Big place skink crawl. The horrible little Zelda from Terrahawk's Witch.
Successive Conservative governments left our health service wanting and inadequate when the pandemic hit.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, everybody knows that when the pandemic hit, we were
left wanting and inadequate with our health supplies because you didn't get prepped for the pandemic.
Was unprepared.
The whole world was Jenkins didn't do his homework either. Why don't you tell Jenkins off?
Nobody knew what the right quarantine rules should be, Mr. Speaker.
Hi, Richard.
But as it happened, the UK government and our amazing NHS,
that you're trying to dismantle,
produced not only approved the first vaccine.
Oh God, he's going on about the vaccines again.
We were the first to get it into anybody's arms, Mr. Speaker.
First, but not the most complete vaccine rollout of the world.
The fastest could have been possible if we listened to him.
What? Why wouldn't it be possible? Of course it would have been possible.
I think the Prime Minister just agreed with the Culture Secretary.
Wow.
Perhaps she said it. They didn't deny it.
He didn't deny it. He's right.
Perhaps she said it because it's true.
Yeah, exactly.
It starts with GPs. People were unhappy with the service they were getting before the pandemic. Not enough GPs. Too hard to get an appointment. That's why he promised 6,000 new GPs. But his health secretary admits he won't keep that promise.
Again,
despite the hard work of doctors, people can't see a GP in person. They're unhappier than ever with GP services.
Shut up.
If GP provision was wanting and inadequate before the pandemic, what is it now?
Yeah.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm afraid he's simply wrong because he's wrong about what we're doing. And of course, Mr. We've got to clear the COVID backlogs, and everybody understands that. Everybody
the
understands
COVID backlogs.
Everybody understands.
You're talking about
pressure,
before
the NHS
pandemic hit. You're already having problems.
But they are responding magnificently, and I can tell him that thanks to the investments that this government has put in, we now have 4,300 more doctors. We have record numbers.
What? No, we don't. No, we don't. No, we don't. You fucking liar. We have less doctors. We have fewer doctors than ever before.
Nurses this year.
No, we don't.
Last year, Mr. Speaker.
What? People are fucking leaving like crazy. You're pulling figures out of your big fat custody arse.
By the party opposite, and the only reason we were able to make that investment,
Mr.
Speaker, is because we have
you didn't. You put 37 billion in a track and trace system that didn't even fucking work. You big cock. Sit down, gobshite.
Mr. Speaker, of course he talks big, but I've got a letter here to the Prime Minister from the honourable member from Hereford and South Herefordshire. He said, this is you, Prime Minister, under you the government seems to lack a sense of mission. It has a large majority but no long-term plan. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's Big Plan Act is so tired that even once loyal MPs don't believe him. And it's not just waiting for a GP.
148
it's waiting for all NHS treatment. Take cancer. For over a decade, waiting times for cancer care have been going up. His solution was supposed to be diagnostic hubs. The Health Secretary has been on a victory lap this week. But here's the rub, Prime Minister.
Look at
Since they were opened last year, 135,000 extra people are now waiting for scans and tests. Can he think of a better way to describe soaring cancer waiting lists than wanting and inadequate?
Mr. Speaker, it is entirely right.
Should be slamming him over the
people are now coming forward to get their cancer tests, and we have actively encouraged that, and that is the right thing for people to do.
It's taking it too easy on him. As a result of the community diagnostic hubs that we are bringing in, 100 of them
across the country,
call him a liar.
We are able to
148 of his MPs think he's a liar. 148 of his MPs do not have confidence in him.
Faster, and
148
we can do that,
of his MPs don't want him to be the leader.
More radiographers.
41% of his MPs don't want him to be leader.
We're hiring more professionals in our NHS because of the investments that we made, which, as I say,
we're doing this stuff. We're doing this stuff. You're not.
Opposed.
You're just a fucking liar. You're not doing any of that stuff.
Mr. Speaker, the problem is the cancer rates have been going up for 10 years, and they're even higher now. So blaming the pandemic just won't wash. Perhaps the Culture Secretary was talking about the state of NHS buildings. Before the pandemic, the NAO said they were a risk to patients. The government's response, paint jobs and fix-ups, pretending that's the same as building new hospitals. Yeah. The Treasurer and the Cabinet Office apparently don't think that the refurbs are even going to be delivered. Take University Hospital North Tees. The ceiling is falling in, the roof leaks, and staff have to hose down the pipes to stop them freezing over. Failure to fix wanting and inadequate NHS buildings is putting patients at risk, isn't it, Prime Minister?
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, this line of criticism is satirical, she's drunk. Coming from a Labour government, attacking our hospital building programme, Mr. Speaker, where they were the authors of the PFI scheme that bankrupted so many hospitals.
What?
Sorry? Mr. Speaker, what we're doing instead is building 48 new hospitals. Yes,
so that stuff that happened 20 years ago?
Thanks to the
20 years ago?
The biggest capital investment programme in the history of the NHS.
This would be like Neil Kinnock going on about what the Tories did in the 1960s.
To cope with the pandemic, plus another 39 billion in the health and care levy. They opposed that funding. They opposed the health and care levy.
No, they didn't. They didn't. They opposed your shitty health bill. It didn't help anyone. He's just fucking lying. Lie upon lie upon lie. Where's he getting these stats from?
Can I just say to both of you, you need to calm down. And there's two over here as well. The four of you could have a very nice cup of tea if you wish. Keir Starmer.
Oh dear. Prime Minister. Dear. Pretending. Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, why don't you let him speak?
Pretending no rules for Prime Minister, he chunters on. Pretending no rules were broken didn't work. Pretending the economy is booming didn't work. And pretending to build 40 new hospitals won't work either. They want him to change, but he can't. As always with this Prime Minister, when he's falling short, he just changes the rules and lowers the bar. Yep. In March, he proposed changing the NHS contract. He wants to double the length of time patients can be made to wait for surgery, from 1 year to 2 years.
Wow.
On top of that, he scrapped zero tolerance of 12-hour waits at A&E. 24 hours at A&E used to be a TV programme. Now it's his policy.
Yeah.
Well, it's Health Week.
Oh, look, Patel's looking perturbed.
He's telling all of them.
Order!
Johnson's going nuts here.
Mr. Cleverley, we've got a tea party gathering. I'm sure you don't want to be part of it. I will hear the question. The problem is, so do our constituents. I wonder if I were you, and I think one or two of you might be going early. What I would say is, look, I need to hear the question in the same way I expect to hear the answer. So please, Keir Starmer.
Mr. Speaker, I bet they wish they were this organised on Monday. Well, Mr. Speaker, it's Health Week, and he's telling them he's going to turn over a new leaf. So why doesn't he start by scrapping his plans to greenlight wanting and inadequate NHS standards?
Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, look, I've got to tell him, I just think that this line of attack is not working. Mr. Speaker,
I think it is, mate, because 90% of the bloody population want you out. 40% of your own party want you out.
The two of you need to calm down. So please.
Lying, racist, sexist, homophobic, corrupt cokehead. Absolutely. Alexander Boris Piffle Johnson.
we've not only raised the standards in the NHS, we're not only reducing waiting times for those who've had to wait the longest, Mr. Speaker, but what we're doing more fundamentally is doing what the people of this country can see is simple common sense, and that is using our economic strength to invest in doctors and nurses.
To have people wait at A&E for 24 hours, have people that I know waiting for an ambulance for over an hour. Yeah, that's acceptable, is it? Now people are going to wait 2 years for surgery.
To recruit 50,000
operations.
more nurses. Thanks to the investments, I've just got to repeat this because he doesn't seem to have heard it so far. Thanks to the investments that party opposed. Perhaps he can now explain why they opposed them.
Rancid piece of shit.
Mr. Speaker, raising taxes because you failed to grow the economy isn't a plan for the NHS, and everyone sitting behind him knows it. Members of his cabinet admit that Conservatives left our health system wanting and inadequate when the pandemic hit. He's been in power for 3 years, and things are getting worse, not better.
Worse.
Fewer GPs, more waits for cancer tests, buildings still crumbling, and he's changing the rules to cover up his failure. And there is a real human pain as a result. Today I spoke to Hamza Semakula. Hamza is 20 and he plays semi-professional football for Hendon. He tore his ACL earlier this year. Because of the 2-year wait for surgery, he had to crowdfund for a private operation. Jesus. I also spoke to Akshay Patel. Last year, his mother woke up unable to breathe. Akshay called 999 6 times. God. In his last call, he said, "I rang an hour ago for an ambulance as she had difficulty breathing, and now she's dead." Even he must admit that Akshay, Bina and Hamza deserve better than a wanting and inadequate government utterly unable to improve our NHS.
Mr. Speaker, I think everybody in the House has sympathy with Akshay and the other constituents and their families and the other constituents that he mentions, Mr. Speaker, and I share their feelings. But
share their feelings, but I'm amazing. Did I tell you how amazing I am? Look at what the government's doing. Your government is failing on every fucking level, you absolute gobshite. You lying sack of shit.
We're paying nurses more.
No, you're not. No, you're not. No, their real wages, the actual real wages, have gone down since you cunts have been in power. Go fuck yourself to death.
He still hasn't retracted it.
What?
We're doing it, Mr. Speaker. We can make those investments because of the strength of the UK economy, because of the fiscal firepower that we have to deploy.
Fiscal
firepower. We have the lowest unemployment now since 1974, and we are going to continue to grow our economy for the long term. He asked about the mission of this government, Mr. Speaker. It is to unite and level up across our whole country, to unleash the potential of our entire country. The biggest tutoring program in history for young people, raising literacy.
The stuff we're going to do. Tell us what you've done. Tell us what you've done, because everything you say you've done is a fucking lie. It's an absolute fucking lie, or a half-truth, or something that you didn't actually have any hand in.
As my right honourable friend for Duluth and I will do for millions of people who currently don't have it. Cutting the cost of living. The cost of living has doubled under you, you cunt.
Under you, the cost of living has fucking doubled, you fucking cunt. We have the highest fuel costs, the highest heating costs, the highest food costs we have ever had in the history of the land. And it's peacetime. Fucking rat boy. Fat, bloated fucking ratata.
But I didn't know you were so popular. Come on.
Well, we love Oliver. Changing the subject completely, in North East Hertfordshire, we're very concerned about sewage overflows.
Jesus Christ. Fucking overflow sewage from your fucking cunt party.
And this is damaging damaging to the flora and fauna and also restricts the use of these precious streams for leisure.
Yeah,
the Environment Bill included some important measures last year, and I welcome the fact that the government has consulted on its reduction plan for storm overflows. But when would we expect to see some meaningful improvements and some real reductions in the amount of sewage going into our rivers?
Yeah, well, I thank you very much, and I share his concern. I can tell him our sewage plans is the biggest investment on this by any government. We made it clear that the water companies must do more, Mr. Speaker, and actually we already are seeing improvements, but the regulator is ensuring that the water companies do more to deliver on their obligations. We will not hesitate to take further action as needed.
He's got his crib sheet, hasn't he? Gobshite.
Blackburn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I associate myself with the remarks of the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition in supporting our carers? Mr. Speaker,
joking, not a funny
week
one,
after week, I've called on this Prime Minister.
Yeah, I was thinking that about Hoyle as well,
I've been met with
Mark.
a wall of noise from the Tory benches. I thought they were trying to shout me down, but all this time... Mr. Speaker, it turns out that 41% of them have been cheering me on. Because, Mr. Speaker, let's be clear, at least
high
the
context.
numbers don't
You're fucking
lie.
welcome.
41% of his own MPs have no confidence in him. 66 of MPs across the House don't support him, and 97% of Scottish MPs want the Minister for the Union shown the door. Lame duck Prime Minister presiding over a divided party in a disunited kingdom. So how does the Prime Minister expect to continue when even unionist leaders in Scotland won't back him?
Go on.
I want to thank my
vaccination.
Warm words. And actually, Mr.
He's just called you a cunt, mate.
Say that the biggest and most powerful and
called you an infinite and endless liar.
Kingdom over the last time that I've been in has been that man there. Under his, I don't know how long he's going to last here as leader of the SNP, the Scottish National Congress. Long may he rest in place, Mr. Speaker. He is the Araldite that's keeping our kingdom together. I thank him for what he's doing.
What a great response, you fucking abortive rooting hog.
I can say to the Prime Minister that I'll be standing shoulder to shoulder with our First Minister as we take our country to independence.
A process that you've accelerated, Boris Johnson.
Prime Minister is acting like Monty Python's Black Knight, running around declaring it's just a flesh wound.
Brilliant.
No amount of delusion and denial will save the Prime Minister from the truth. This story won't go away until he goes away. For once in his life, he needs to wake up to reality. Prime Minister, it's over. It's done. The Prime Minister has no options left, but Scotland does. Scotland has the choice of an independent future.
I agree, Vinegar.
Because it's not just the Prime Minister that we have zero confidence in. It's the broken Westminster system that puts a man like him in power. Exactly. Can he tell us, can the Prime Minister tell us how it is democratic that Scotland is stuck with a Prime Minister we don't trust, a Conservative Party we don't support, and Tory governments we haven't voted for since 1955?
Very good point. Well made.
Mr. Speaker, we had a referendum, as I've told the House before, in 2014. I think he should respect the mandate of the people. And you know, he keeps saying that
the people. That was before Brexit. That was before you gobshite. The best advert for independence. The best advert for independence ever in the history of Scottish independence. The best advert is this fucking plonker.
And the only way that independence would ever be reversed is if we had the disaster, Mr. Speaker, of a Labour SNP
long-tongue babbling fuckwit.
Into the EU.
Esther McVeigh.
Going back straight into the EU. Oh God.
Earlier this week, the Prime Minister
this
said,
woman is an embarrassment to Liverpool.
You cannot spend your way out of inflation.
Can't spend
you
your
cannot
way.
tax your way into growth. We will cut the cost of government. Here, I completely agree. So when can I suggest a strong start? That he scraps the inflated white elephant that is HS2 saving the government tens of billions of pounds from a budget that is spiralling out of control.
When you stand in Liverpool, when you stand in your hometown, you can get fucking 2 votes and a copy of last week's Echo, you cunt.
In case you missed what else I said, we're cutting taxes, Mr. Speaker, for everybody who pays national insurance contributions by an average of £330.
What?
Mr. Speaker, just next month.
Where's he pull that out from?
Actually, what it will
what the hell?
is deliver long-term growth and prosperity
is
for the
McVeigh
whole of the
yes,
country,
he is.
uniting and levelling up, deliver more revenues and put us in a better position to cut taxes in the future.
Cut taxes. You're not going to cut taxes, you fucking lying sack of shit.
Today we
got
hear
no money.
reports that the Prime Minister
refused
to consult the First Treasury Council on his plans to rip up the protocol. Now, I know this question might be a bit redundant given he might not be around very much longer. But given the Prime Minister's casual record of casual law breaking, will he give a commitment to the people of Northern Ireland that he will not break international law anytime soon?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I can tell him that the reports that he's seen this morning are not correct, and what I can also tell him is that the most important commitment that I think everybody in this House
a commitment in you are queer bedfellows indeed,
the balance
you sack
and
of
symmetry
shite.
of the Belfast Good Friday Agreement. That is
the one that you want to rip up.
Our highest legal international priority, and that is what we must deliver.
Dr. James Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The North Wales Mainline Railway has seen little investment for over a century. In practice, this means that jobs at Manchester Airport
sounds very Welsh, doesn't he?
to many of my
Vale of
constituents
Clwyd.
with a 2-hour commute, whereas a similar journey in the southeast of the
Hello,
country
I'm
would be just
James. I'm
45
from
minutes.
Wales.
So will my right honourable friend ensure that the North Wales
Wales has given any money ever?
Rail network enhancements pipeline
Avoid new hospitals, vaccination.
I thank my listen,
in other words, go fuck yourself.
Mr. Speaker, for this project. We are looking at it, and I can tell him that the Network Rail has received funding to carry out feasibility work on improving North Wales mainline journey
Oh,
times
feasibility. They've done a feasibility study. Yay, it's all sorted now. They've been in charge for 12 fucking years, ladies and gentlemen. Now they're doing feasibility studies into trains in Wales.
Despite the Prime Minister's promises of new hospitals and more doctors and nurses, the Bronte Birth Centre at my local hospital in Batley and Spen is temporarily shut and is at risk of permanent closure due to staff shortages and lack of resources. The reality on the ground is that after 12 years of Conservative mismanagement, the NHS is broken. So can the Prime Minister explain to expectant parents in my constituency why, despite his promises, they are now forced to travel miles to give birth? And why his government voted against an effective long-term workforce plan for the NHS, proposed by his right honourable friend, the member for South West Surrey.
Prime Minister.
I thank her very much. I will certainly look into what's the centre that she mentions in Batley and Spen. What I can tell her, though, is that across the country we are investing massively in staff, in premises, in technology, in diagnostic centres, and I'm afraid for the party opposite to carp and to criticise is frankly absurd, because they voted against the health and care levy that is putting billions into our NHS, and they need to sort out
voted against your shit policies because they knew they were shit, mate, and they're obviously shit, evidenced by the fact that everyone's having to wait 2 years to have a fucking operation on your fucking NHS, you stop that cunt.
In 2025. Could he also praise the team from Durham, who gave a fantastic representation of what County Durham had to offer? Bradford must really be extraordinary to have beaten us. In 2025, Durham will also celebrate the bicentennial of the Stockton to Darlington Passenger Railway, which will of course distract people from Bradford. I believe that my right honourable friend is the best person to lead on delivering levelling up for the North East.
Are you on crack?
Can he encourage progress on the Furry Hill Station development, reinvigorate the Leamside line,
Can you fuck off with your crack taking? Can you calm down with your crack?
County Durham.
I thank my honourable friend, and he and I campaign on. I've been following his campaign on this for a long time, Mr. Speaker. I'm told that the Department of Transport is currently reviewing the business case for exactly what he has just requested. We're putting the funding in, Mr. Speaker, unlike anything the party opposite ever could have delivered.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. That's what they did like 20 years ago, mate.
In Monday's confidence vote, the Prime Minister secured the support of just 2 out of Scotland's 59 MPs. That means out of the massed ranks of his Scottish Conservative colleagues, he got as much support as there are pandas in Edinburgh Zoo. The Prime Minister is an intelligent man. He must know that position's untenable. And if he's not going to do the decent thing and resign as the Prime Minister, surely it's past time he wrote a letter of resignation to himself to stand down as the Minister for the Union.
Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I really redirect the honourable gentleman to what I said to the right honourable gentleman, my friend, the leader of the SNP. Because
so you can't be asked. I think you just made a joke, mate. You didn't actually say anything.
For breaking up our United Kingdom with all the strength and all the merits that it has, I think the more damage they do to their own case.
The more damage you do to your case of having a union by staying in power every day.
With a variety of mental health challenges, learning disabilities and conditions such as dementia. Last week, the Prince's Centre in Prince's Risborough in my constituency celebrated 10 years as an independent daycare provider. From my recent visit, it is quite clear what a happy, welcoming and supportive atmosphere has been created for all service users. So will my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, join me in thanking and congratulating the manager, Kim Challoner, her whole team of staff, volunteers and trustees for delivering this first-class service, and as Chequers is...
I don't think he cares about Wales either. All the rest of England outside of London. Well, in fact, London. I don't think he cares about anything but himself.
A friend who's amongst his many other distinctions, I think my MP, and I also joined him in thanking
Tories are in
the
actual denial of
team at
what's
the
happening at the NHS.
Centre for everything.
God, I hate your voice, Boris Johnson. I hate your face. I hate your demeanour. I hate your lies. I hate every fucking thing about you.
I'd have more sympathy for the words "get on with the job" if it actually started in the first place. 2 weeks ago, the Prime Minister told the House, to the best of my knowledge, everybody is getting their passport within 4 to 6 weeks. However, the Passport Office is currently quoting a 10-week service time, with many of my constituents waiting well over that period.
But the blue passport.
Summer trips could cost families over £1 billion. Does the Prime Minister accept that the Passport Office backlog is placing additional pressure on families already struggling with the cost of living crisis?
Yep,
actually, Mr. Speaker, what we're doing is 91% are getting their passport within 6 weeks, I can tell him, Mr. Speaker.
What? He's just pulled another fucking statistic out of his arse. He does this all the time. He just pulls figures out of his arse, and he never gets pulled up on it.
Of the economy, because everybody is frankly wanting to go on holiday, and quite right too, Mr. Speaker. But when it comes to travel chaos, have we heard any condemnation?
I agree with what John's just said in his comments.
From the RMT
travel
and
chaos.
Reckless and wanton strike.
When it's travel chaos that you've caused for your fucking shit Brexit, it's okay. But when it's the RMT striking for better paying conditions, it's a bad thing.
Strood is facing unrealistic housing targets, putting pressure on the council to bring forward a local plan that would close successful working docks and the loss of beloved open spaces such as Deangate Ridge, all in the name of meeting an arbitrary target. Can my right honourable friend assure my constituents who are facing this level of overdevelopment that there will be greater flexibility on housing numbers so that the council can produce a local plan that delivers the appropriate housing but protects important sites like these?
Prime Minister. I thank my honourable friend, and she speaks, I know, for colleagues up and down the country. We want to make sure that councils are able to build in the right place and sensitively to local needs, and that is what we insist on. But I just want to make it one thing absolutely clear. Part of the merit, genius of levelling up, Mr. Speaker, is that it will encourage us to take some of the pressure, some of the heat out of the southeast of England, which has been overburdened for decades.
That's the line you need, Labour. Come on, Labour. You can do it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My constituent Mark is trying to sponsor 2 sisters from Ukraine to come to the UK.
Yeah, and it's a fucking nightmare.
These 2 sisters were housed in dangerous temporary accommodation in Montenegro for several weeks while the UK Home Office refused to process the application of the younger sister because she's 13 and travelling without her parents, even though she had her 18-year-old sister with her.
Fucking
the
assholes.
18-year-old sister is now in London.
Look at Priti Patel. Fuck you, Priti Patel, you gobshite.
To her hometown in Ukraine, which is under siege. Can I ask the
Fucking
Prime Minister,
hell.
can he tell me?
Fucking hell, Priti Patel. Shocking.
Does he think
Shameful.
sending vulnerable children back to a
13-year-old.
war zone is the right policy?
Yeah, that's their policy.
Mr. Speaker,
Be as unwelcoming as possible.
I understand her indignation about the case that she mentions, and I know that my right honourable friend, the Home Secretary, will be looking into it. But I have to say, I do think the record of this country in processing so far, I think well over 120,000 visas for Ukrainians.
Why do they need visas, gobshite? No other country in Europe requires fucking visas except for us. We have to pay for all that, by the way, all that bureaucracy out of our fucking taxes.
About increased research funding for aortic dissection as called for by the Aortic Dissection Charitable Trust. Will the Prime Minister update me on the progress?
Yeah, Mad
with
Monkey,
this?
absolutely right. They're
Will
just
he
there
also
to line their
recognise
pockets,
the
line the
immense
pockets of
value
their
of the
family and
patient
friends,
awareness
feather their
videos
nests,
that have been
gild
produced
their
by
fucking
TADCT,
massive lilies.
featuring Whispering Bob Harris, survivors, relatives of patients, to help those going through this awful
Mark,
condition
I
for the
think
first time.
that Zelensky's quite canny knowing that the more he sucks up to Boris Johnson's massive fucking ego, the more weapons he'll get out of him. Which is, you know, if I was in Zelensky's situation, I might do the same thing.
The National Institute for Health.
Sorry for talking over this fucking cock,
what
but
we can do to support research on aortic dissection.
Fucking lying sack of shit. All you can do, what, by pulling out the European Medical Research Agency? All right, whatever you say, fucking knobhead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Ukrainian Freedom Orchestra and the Kyiv Symphony Orchestra are due to visit the UK this summer to perform at the BBC Proms, the Edinburgh Festival, and other venues. But while other European countries are waiving their visas, to get to the UK, the musicians are facing both visa delays and prohibitive visa costs,
Yes.
18,000 and 10,000 respectively. We should be doing all we can to support these Ukrainian musicians.
Yes.
So will the Prime Minister match our European neighbours and enable these Ukrainian artists to tour to the UK this year by expediting their visa applications and waiving the visa fees?
Yeah, hear him. Good question. Sure,
I think she needs to bring the particular case to my right honourable friend, but I can tell.
That's not a yes, is it?
I can tell the
We
House.
need to check they're not Russian
And I know
spies,
that
like
many
that
honourable
13-year-old
members,
girl.
by the way, are showing a lead by having
Diana's newborn
Ukrainians
baby.
to stay in their own homes. And I thank all honourable
refugee
members
that I was
for
trying to
doing
help, who ended up
thanks
going
to the
back
scheme
to
that the
Ukraine.
UK government has put in place. I think we should be
Well,
very
we put
proud
up with
of what we're
the
doing.
visa red tape that cunt Patel, and that
Mr. Speaker,
horrible
the
bastard
Prime Minister
fucking
knows
Boris
from his
Johnson
visits
put into
to
place.
Cleveland that we enjoy miles of beautiful, uninterrupted coastline. However, since October last year, we've seen thousands of dead and dying crustaceans wash ashore.
Yes, because you polluted all the rivers.
Conducted an investigation into this, which
polluted all the
led to
rivers.
the theory of algal bloom being the primary cause for these deaths. However, this
caused by
report
sewage.
does nothing to support the fishermen left devastated by this freak event through no fault of their own.
Theresa May
Will
look
the
like
Prime
Darth
Minister
Vader when
look
he
at
takes
how
his
can
helmet off?
support this vital industry to get them back on their feet?
Tell your sister.
I know my honourable friend and I were walking together on the seafront in Redcar when
I saw a massive fucking turd.
Mr. Speaker, when somebody raised his
And I realised I was looking in the mirror.
And I can tell him that we've ruled out chemical pollution, Mr. Speaker, but we are looking
Effluent.
at we are making another £100 million of investment, including in communities such as his, and working with the fishing industry to help them recover from this problem.
To help the European fishing industry steal our fish.
The poorest in this country
never
pay
mind.
the highest fuel costs through prepayment meters that have higher standing charges and higher tariffs.
Yes.
Belgium ensures a social tariff for the poorest and most vulnerable. As the perverse and pernicious euphemism of self-disconnection enters the lexicon, when in fact it's a politically imposed choice, not something chosen by individuals. Is it not time that we provided a social tariff and ended the injustice of prepayment meters?
Yes. Prime Minister.
I thank him, Mr. Speaker, and I can tell him that what we're doing in the immediate, what we're doing right now, is helping 8 million families.
He's just coming up with a fucking number again.
With £1,200 of support.
What? £1,200 of support? Maybe you've got three fucking homes. Like you gobshite. You rich fucking twat.
£400, Mr. Speaker, for every household in the country.
Every household, every house in the country, mate.
Right now,
so if you own 11 houses, like you fucking cunt, fucking Chancellor Exchequer Rishi Sunak, then you quid's in, aren't you? What a good use of public money. What a good use of public funds.
Tough calls that we got right.
Tough calls. You got the tough calls. You got all the difficult calls right.
Right, that we don't.
What?
No. I think the honourable member's been here long enough to know it comes after statements. We don't need to tell him the rules of the House. Right.
Right. I think that's it. Everyone's filing out. Going to cut the sound there. So you're going to be stuck with me. Hi, everyone. Hello. I'm just going to make myself big. That sounds a bit wrong, doesn't it? I'm just going to make myself bigger on the screen. Let's see if this works. There we go. And then I'll knock the sound off there. I will get rid of this, and my background will go back to the House of Commons. There you go. Whoosh. Okay, right. Well, I'm broadcasting from my kitchen today. I hope you don't mind. It's actually a very well lit room, the kitchen here in Durham. And Catherine's out for the day. She's at work, so I have the house to myself. I'm supposed to be tidying, ready for our Ukrainian visitors, our Ukrainian people, friends who we are sponsoring to come over. We began their sponsorship process at the beginning of April. It's now the 8th of June, and they're finally coming over tomorrow. We're flying them over, and it's been an interesting few weeks, few months, with the process of going over to Ukraine, the UK for UKR. I would like to have gone to pick up Katerina and Angelina from Lviv, but just the timings never work out like you want them to. But also a really big issue at the moment is that the funds that we had for UKR starting off have dried up somewhat, and now we're in a situation where it's going to be difficult to do another round trip. We have enough for I've got the 4x4 at the moment that we bought. I've got to get that back to Jock. Got to get that back to Gordon, the medic, who's been over there for the last few months. He's in Northern Ireland at the moment. I need to get the 4x4 back to him. He's going to fill it up with stuff and then leave from Northern Ireland next week. Head back to the border. We have enough money to do that, but that's about it. We won't be able to do another trip in Kieran Stetwagon unless we get a rather large injection. Well, not large, but a decent injection of cash from donors. So I'll be looking into ways of fundraising some more. Unfortunately, obviously, this is out of my hands to some extent. The war's been going on now for over 100 days, for more than 3 months, 3.5 months now. And it's just one of those things that people, they get distracted by other stuff that's going on, which is understandable. But we do often have this situation of war fatigue in which people just stop looking at what's happening in in the wider world because they see another news story about something terrible that's happened in Ukraine, and it's like you see that every day for 3 months. You end up not clicking on that news story. You end up just going to see what celebrity's suing what other celebrity this week, which is a shame. I'll just dive into some of your messages here. We've got Duke Vengeance saying, what a fucking joke. We've got Nico saying, hi there. Hi Nico. Hi-o. We got David saying, hi, my lovely ginger. And a kiss. Thank you. It's Pride Month, by the way. So if you're gay, good. We've got Ian saying, fascistics? I don't know. Or AKA bollocks. Indeed. And we've got Kitchen. I thought it was the House of Commons. Yeah, I know. I've done my kitchen to look like the House of Commons because I'm a bit strange like that. I'm sure Mickey Flanagan did an interesting comedy skit about blokes having the house to themselves. Yes, I could be getting up to all sorts right now, but I'm not. I'm talking to you. Oh, no, nice. Yes, thank you. I got a £2 super chat from Alexis, who's given me a couple of waves and the old sign of the devil dudes. Yeah, indeed. So basically, the sort of UK for UKR thing, I'm going to be handing a lot of that over to Gordon and the team over at Madaika. Any new donations that come in from pretty much from now on will be going over there. If we raise enough, a couple of grand, we'll need to do another trip out there. We will do that. Obviously, the situation in Ukraine is ongoing. For 1/5, 20% of the land territory of Ukraine has been invaded by Russia, who are murdering at a catastrophic, just a horrific rate. We know of at least 800 children who have died during this conflict, and tens of thousands of Ukrainians have also died during this conflict, and it shows no signs of abating or running out anytime soon. Russia's economy is not taking the knocks that we hoped it would. The ruble is still going strong. A lot of the early predictions about the Russian economy falling apart and someone doing in Putin in order to recoup their losses doesn't seem to have come to fruition, unfortunately. And so we are left in a situation now where we might have this ongoing horrific conflict going on. Meanwhile, Europe is giving Putin and his cronies $1 billion every day for the natural resources that we're using. And I know that it's not quite that straightforward. It's not like we're putting the money into his back pocket, but he can use that as leverage for whatever horrible shit he wants to do going forward. And this guy seems to want to do a lot of horrible shit because he is a horrible shit. He's the worst. He is the fucking worst. I mean, Boris Johnson's pretty bad, but somehow Vladimir Putin is even fucking worse. And what he's done in Ukraine is just an act of such monumental beastliness, an act of aggression and fascism that we haven't really seen on this continent for a very, very long time. The only thing that comes close is the Balkan conflicts in the 1990s, and even they were not a case of that. That was more of a civil war, as the former Yugoslavia fell apart into its 7 constituent parts. Eight actually. Bosnia-Herzegovina is kind of 2 different sets. Anyway, but as it fell apart, this is not a civil conflict. This is literally one incredibly big and quite wealthy state. Not that the wealth is particularly well distributed. Lenin would be turning in his grave, I'm sure. But a wealthy state, and one that has a lot of power and a lot of fossil fuels. And there's a part of me that kind of hoped that this whole Ukraine horror show, this nightmare, the silver lining of it might be that it would wean the world would go, shit, we can't rely on fossil fuels from Russia. We can't. And we can't rely on fossil fuels from Ukraine, from Venezuela, or from Saudi Arabia, or from Angola, or from Libya, or from any of these kind of, states where the energy flow from these states, if you want to see it that way, from fossil fuels, is something that can be upended with a revolution or a war or political instability. And it's a ridiculous way to run things when we could make all the power we need ourselves. And yet, instead of doing this necessary moment where we go, okay, right, well, let's just sack off fossil fuels as quickly as humanly possible, because otherwise the whole world's going to be fucking uninhabitable pretty fucking soon. What we've done is we've gone the other way, and we've said, oh no, we're going to invest in more coal mines. We need more coal mines. We need to open up more oil exploratory stuff, and the Netherlands is now investing more in fracking, and I'm just like, no. I read Boris. Sorry, I missed that. It doesn't sound likely, David. Did you see how Tobias Ellwood's crucified for suggesting a more intelligent position on a single market re-entry? Well, so that was quite interesting. That first shot across the bow from the Tory Tobias Ellwood. He didn't go to the local comp now, did he? No. Tobias, luncheon is ready. Mammy, I've only just had my 11th. It sounds delusional enough to be floated around as an idea, one of Johnson's illegal parties full of illegal substances. Laura for fossil fuels. Happy Pride for you, Graham, too. Thank you very much, David. Roger King. Boris has to pander to his voter base, the rich and the inbred, says Roger. Yeah, the rich and the inbred. That's basically, yeah. So it's about Labour. When I was talking a little bit when Boris Johnson was chuntering on like he often does, I mentioned the idea of going away from this term levelling up because it's a Tory slogan, and if you have a minister for levelling up and a shadow minister for levelling up, that's not great. I think that the Labour slogan going forward should be Reboot Britain, i.e. The Tories have crashed everything. They've crashed our economy, they've crashed the NHS, they've crashed our education system, they've crashed our decency in public life, they've just crashed the system, and it needs a reboot. And that would be the idea behind, the 1997 election. We had New Labour. They made it very clear that they were separating off from the old ways, but also it was the idea that they were giving you something new, something different from the Conservatives, who at that stage had been in charge for 18 fucking years. Yes, the first 18 years of my life, nearly, except for the first 2 months, first 2 months of my life, I was under a Conservative government. First of all, under Thatcher, who won 3 elections, and then under John Major, who won 1. Yeah, revolting lot, even back then. But these guys, these fuckers that are in charge at the moment, they make Margaret Thatcher look decent. And that's coming from a Scouser. Oh my God. Right, anyway, so I'm going to wrap up at 1 o'clock. So if you want to get your messages in, please get them in the next few minutes, and I'll try my best to read as many out as possible. If you definitely want me to read out what you've written, if you want to think about giving me a super chat, that would be very, very welcome. So tomorrow I would be doing Hughes of the World, and I've been promising this for ages, but I will be doing Hughes of the World. But I'm going to Luton Airport to go and pick up the refugees that we are sponsoring to come and live here with us, me and Catherine, in Durham. Oh, I've got a delivery. Just hang on 1 sec. Hello. Sorry about that. Delivery. I had to go and get it. It's actually school books for Angelina, the that's the daughter of Katharina. So Katerina is the mum. Angelina's the daughter. Angelina's 11. She's hopefully starting school before the summer holidays. We just ordered some school books for her, which just arrived. So there you go. Oh, we've got a super chat. Thank you very much, number 3, for the £5 super chat. Thanks very much. Lol, real life interferes. Wool share, postman Pat. That naughty postman cat, indeed. Yeah, Hughes of the World. Sorry, I will be doing Hughes of the World, but I'm not going to be able to tomorrow. But also, I've got to look into how we're going to get this, how I'm going to do shows in the future, because obviously the kitchen is kind of like the central room in the house, and it's going to be very, very difficult for people moving around the house if I do any more shows from in here. So I don't know. I used to do my shows from the basement, but that room has now been carpeted. We put wardrobes in and shelves and a desk, and we've got beds for Katerina and Angelina to stay in. So that's going to be their room for themselves. We've tried to make it as nice as humanly possible. It wasn't particularly nice when it was my studio because it didn't need to be, but we painted the walls. So we got rid of the green screen that used to be there. Get Marcus to build you a wooden hut. Well, the problem is, although I do live in Durham, it's not a particularly busy area. We do live on a main road, so it's a bit difficult. If I had we've actually got an old garage in the back that I could probably convert into a studio, but the noise of the passing vehicles will be a huge problem, and I don't really know what to do about that. Graham, how's the social media thing with Labour? So, like I said, a couple of weeks ago, I had a meeting with Jonathan Reynolds, who is the Shadow Minister for Trade, and we discussed setting up Labour Social. So the idea behind this is going to be a semi-official Labour channel featuring me, Supertansky, Mike Galsworthy, Phil Morehouse, Robespierre, Maximilian Robespierre, Marcus, whoever else wants to be on it. I don't know if we're going to get Femi, because I think he's a bit pissed off at Labour at the moment, but we'll try. And the idea is that we are sort of self-funded, so we're not being funded directly by the Labour Party, but we get access to Labour MPs, Labour councillors, Labour activists, and we get to... We've got obviously, we've got rules that we have to abide by. We can't just put anything online and stamp it with Labour. But the idea is we've got a little bit of a free rein. We won't have to run everything through Labour HQ before we produce it. So that's something that I'm hopefully putting together. And what I'm doing at the moment is I am working with Johnny and also with some other MPs to put together some pilot videos to get funding in and stuff like that, to get it off the ground, because I think it's a really good idea, not least because it was mine, but I think it's a really good idea because at the moment the Labour's output when it comes to social media, as I have commented on, Supertansky's commented on this, Maximilian has and so has Phil many times, it's just not that great, so much so that when you type in Labour UK into YouTube, the first video that comes up for me is a Labour video. I mean, it's on the Labour channel, but it's of Jeremy Corbyn from 3 years ago, and I'm like, guys, you've got to put this on. You've got to put this on. Delete it, or at least set it to private so it doesn't come up in searches. I mean, God's sake, he's not even a Labour MP anymore. So yeah, I'll be talking more about that, but also there's a few things that we've done here on this channel that I want to try and export over to a Labour social channel, but I want to also maintain a level of independence, because there's a lot of Labour policies that either, I'm not entirely sold on myself, or I don't agree with. I think that there should be a Lib Lab Pact. I'm a very strong supporter of universal basic income, which isn't a Labour policy at the moment, but I think it should be. And there's a few things that I would like to see Labour do differently. However, I am, at the end of the day, a realist. I wouldn't have got to every country in the world without flying had I not been a realist. I am a realist, and I understand that we're not going to change everything for what we do. But if we can get a lot of young people, especially, engaged using YouTube, using TikTok, using Discord, and turn potential floating voters into Labour voters and Labour voters into potential activists is what we really want. And I hope that it's a home for all progressives. I hope that it's somewhere that people who vote Lib Dem are happy to watch and don't feel like they're being excluded or in a way, one of the massive problems I had in the run up to the 2019 election was just how much spite there was from a lot of Labour supporters towards Lib Dem supporters, calling them yellow Tories. In fact, the spite from a lot of people in Labour calling fellow Labour voters red tie Tories, and you're just like, why would you push people away like this? Why don't you F off and join the Tories? And unfortunately, when too many people actually do that, it becomes a problem. But I would like it to be a platform in which Lib Dems, Greens, SNP supporters, Plaid Cymru supporters, and some progressive Conservatives are happy to watch things on it, or at least watch clips of it on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook or whatever, and actually go, yeah, okay, fair enough. Because at the moment you've got Google, what's it called? Not Googlebox. GBBs, you've got Talk TV, which is dying a death, thank God. But also you've got Rupert Murdoch's, obviously. You've got the Express, the Times, the Sun, the Telegraph, the Express, the Mail. They all sing from the same pro-government web sheet, the same sort of anti-woke web sheet. Web sheet? That's not even a thing. Hymn sheet. But I want to see some more. I want to see some more progressive content out there that's actually well produced and looks good, and doesn't it's got the proper idents and everything, and it's not just filmed on the back of someone's mobile phone. The far left is still butthurt about Corbyn on Twitter. Yeah, I noticed that, Duke, but I mean, they're honestly the minority. They're a minority, and as each day passes, so do they. I think I was just like they're not quite as manic as they used to be. And just my advice to you, Duke, and to anyone else on Twitter who encounters these people, just block them. Just block them. Don't argue with them. Just block them. It's not even worth having a big Barney about. Will you still be able to advocate rejoin single market if you're on Labour projects, says RC? Well, that's it. That's why I want it to be. Because my original plan was to help out with Labour's official social media team. And I had a meeting down in London, and we discussed a lot of stuff, and it seemed like pretty good stuff that we could do, that we could work together on. However, I think this would be better done, especially coming from people like me and Mike Galsworthy, and even if we can get Femi on board for this, but people who are not necessarily 100% sold on Labour, who can act as kind of fair-minded arbiters. Imagine it like a Labour MP going on to speak to James O'Brien rather than a Labour MP just talking to another Labour MP, for instance. So hopefully we'll be able to do that. And obviously they will have the ability to kind of just hold us at arm's length if we do stuff that they disagree with. They say, well, this is an unofficial project. But hopefully it won't come to that. But I am interested in creating the same sort of forums that I created for the Rejoin EU group and the what's it called? I forgot what it's called now. The group, the grassroots group. The grassroots groups from last year, where we all can meet on Zoom. We can meet especially on Restream, not Restream, on... Sorry, I've had a long week. It's only Wednesday. So we can have a meet up on Discord and have different levels of membership. And obviously you have people be moderators and make sure that we create a little online community of people who are either Labour supporters, Labour voters, or at least have a passing interest in politics and want to hear the other side, if you like. And a few of the ideas that have been banded around include things like a show called The Lab, in which different policies are workshopped through, and we run it through, like, what if we brought back the death penalty? What if we rejoined the EU? What if we got rid of all private schools? What if we did this? What would actually happen? And a discussion based on that. And for those kind of discussions, I wouldn't see it as sort of Labour propaganda. I'd see it more as like an open discussion about something that's not particularly Labour policy, perhaps, but what would happen if wargaming it, I should say, to see what we can to see what we can get out of it, and see what areas we agree on. Because look, cards on the table. I was never political party. I was not a member of the political party in university. It was only after university that I joined Labour, and then I started getting involved in a bit of a half-assed way in my local Labour community. And then when the referendum came along and they did such a terrible job at convincing people to not commit economic suicide on a national scale, the likes of which we've never seen before, to not put economic sanctions on ourselves, to not queue up for 3 hours to go through passport control, and to not destroy the union and to not to destroy the livelihoods of farmers and fishermen and anyone working in manufacturing. The fact they didn't put up much of an argument really upset me, and so much so that I, 5 years ago today, I was standing in an election against Labour, against my Labour MP who I helped select. So it was, I've come back down off that way of thinking. Well, not way of thinking. I still think the same way about Brexit. Absolutely, I do. But my seething contempt for Labour has obviously dissipated over the last couple of years, and now it's just you watch me on Prime Minister's Questions, you know what I'm like. I want Keir Starmer to do more. I want him to be more of a Rottweiler, but he's not. It's just not his personality. And I don't know if that's a particularly good trait, trying to go up against Boris Johnson in the upcoming general election. I want to be free to be able to say that. I'm not in any way, shape or form giving any kind of credence to the bullshit that lunatic man-child Owen Jones comes out, because he just has a hate boner for Keir Starmer, which is just off the charts. But when I look through the history books, what you want really is a real firebrand to win that initial election, get them over the line, and then you put someone sensible in place. And that's what's happened a lot of times. But I don't think that Keir is that firebrand. I think that's fair enough. 30 years young, indeed. Did you miss a €20 super chat? I think I did, Jim Bob Robob. I'm very sorry. Who gave me Jim Bob, did you give me a £20 super chat? I'm sorry. I've got the I've had to shrink everything down because I'm not using my second monitor, so everything's on my laptop at the moment. So I did miss a €20 super chat. Tell me who was the £20 super chat, and €20 super chat, and I will say thank you profusely. They want to make people work to 80, so yes, 30 years young, indeed. I'll be dead by 60 at this rate, says Duke Vengeance. I think we all will, mate, considering the state of the planet at the moment. Night all here in Melbourne. See you later. Thanks, Jim Bob. Live long and prosper. A home for progressives, unless they like Corbyn, then block them. No, says Silo. Yeah, but my argument would be that the people who are absolute stands for Corbyn, the kind of googly-eyed, what's the name of the character in Misery? Oh my God, I can't even remember the actress's name now. I'm just having a mental blank today. Anyway, like the woman from Misery. I'm your biggest fan. No, the nanny from The Omen. Look at me, Damien. Look at me, Corbyn. Look at me. It's all for you, Jeremy. Labour have continued to be the extraordinarily timid on Brexit consequences. They only want someone else to explain things and inform the electorate for them. The issue is still avoided constantly. Well, yeah, so that's somewhere where we could actually slip into a functional role, kind of within Labour, to say, all right, well, we're going to fucking slag off Brexit because Brexit is a big pile of shit. Eurosh. Oh, thank you very much, Eurosh, for my €20 super chat. You are an absolute legend. Thank you so much. The Shepherd of the Israel Fire. Make Brexit work, please. Well, yeah. See, the problem is, as far as the Labour are concerned, is if they say Brexit's a fucking disaster and we should reverse it, then Boris Johnson can use that to say, you've got to keep me on. And there's an argument that because Tobias Ellwood said we should rejoin the single market, that stopped a few people from voting against Boris Johnson, because they know that if Boris Johnson goes, then Brexit goes. And that is something that Lord Andrew Adonis tweeted a few months ago, and I really wish he hadn't, because, yeah, we know that, but you don't have to say it. But yeah, so I think number one priority is getting rid of Boris Johnson, and then after that we can start building our bridges with the EU and getting our way back in. A possible Brexit will never work, I know. I'm your biggest fan is Partridge, currently loving his Osthouse podcast. Alan Partridge. I need to check that out, actually. The new Alan Partridge podcast from his Osthouse. Asperger's Europe says, glad to see the new Albanese government in Australia includes a minister for the Republic. Things have got disappointingly quiet on the Republic front in the Caribbean since Barbados turned republic. Indeed. Do you reckon we could say like to some dickhead like Boris Johnson, this guy's from the Albanese government, and he went, "Oh, I've never been to Albania." He might think he's from Albania. He might think he's from Austria. Put a shrimp on the barbie. Duke Vengeance says, have you tried throwing hammers at it? Will that fix it? That generally does, yeah. I think I find that. Indeed, but Labour can't ignore the elephant in the room forever. The reality that no one outside Scotland, whether it's the NSFW, stands up for Brexit lies pumped out by the Tories. I want to see Boris the liar recalled. Says John Barleycorn, Labour pathetic on Brexit. Red Wall voters are too far gone. Forget them. Yeah, honestly, RC, 100% I agree. I absolutely agree. And when I had a meeting with the social media team, this was something that we disagreed about, because I was saying, look, leave them, just forget about them. In any way, you're not going to reach them from social media, because they're all old, crusty old bastards who hate foreigners and wanted to get rid of them all, and now they're all gone. They're complaining about the fact that there's so many job vacancies and no one can get on a flight because there's so many job vacancies, and no one can see the doctor or go get an operation because there's so many job vacancies, because all the people who used to do a lot of that stuff have left. And you know what? It takes a long freaking time to train up a new doctor. If you start fucking now, maybe in about 27 years, you might have yourself a doctor. Unless, heaven forfend, you cleverly get doctors from some other country who are fully qualified doctors to come and live here for a few years and sort out the shortfall. In the meantime, well, they can stay if they like, I don't care. Labour's core is in the Remain South and urban centres. It is. Got to. I was a little late to PMQs. Did I miss anything significant, or is it clown bullshitting again? Sam, it was clown bullshitting again. I thought Keir Starmer was a bit too weak. I thought that Boris Johnson didn't answer any of the questions. Again, he mentioned the vaccine rollout. He mentioned that Labour would have taken us out of the, would have left us in the EU, which has stopped us doing the vaccines, which was something that we did while we were still under the rules of the EU in 2020, because we didn't actually leave the rules of the EU until January 2021. But, what are facts when you've got bullshit to pull out your arse? Also, Boris Johnson made up a load of statistics, a load of absolute fucking nonsense statistics. One of the things that I will be doing as part of project, as part of the Labour Social, if we get a chance to do it properly, is doing a quick response to everything that Boris Johnson said to Keir Starmer, going through each line and saying what is true, what is a half truth, what is not. I was going to say what is true, but he's not going to say anything that's true. So everything that's a lie and why it's a lie, and basically dissecting Boris Johnson's 6 answers to Keir Starmer's 6 questions in Prime Minister's questions, and putting that together in a little short 3-minute video on a Wednesday afternoon, and then sending that out on social media with the little Labour ident on it, so we know where it's from. And basically, hopefully, as long as I don't make any mistakes, that should be quite successful on social media, because people like to have something that they can quickly send to people and say, oh, here you go, here's some more lies told by Boris Johnson, the guy who lies about everything, even his own freaking name, which is, all power for the cause, I guess. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. Just a couple of messages here. Starmer could pick PMQs and just answer. Should pick a PMQs and just answer Boris the liar's bullshit, which BJ is current answer for everything currently. Contact says the con have no incentive to make anything better as long as they think they're not the next government, so everything must be done to force a new general election. What do you think can be done? I think that someone made a good point about Keir Starmer needs to be needling Boris Johnson and his ego and his arrogance, and start saying, go on, call an election. Go on, call a general election. Like what Johnson did successfully to Corbyn and pricked Corbyn's own massive fucking ego and put Corbyn into a position where he went for an election, because up till fairly recently they needed the permission of the opposition in order to have an election. They don't need that permission anymore. They've changed the rules since they brought in the 2011 Fixed Term Parliament Act, and now they've scrapped it. So basically the Tories can call an election whenever they want. So in the same way that Johnson needled dickhead Corbyn into falling into his elephant trap of calling it, saying, yeah, let's have a general election. And also fucking Joe Swinson as well, whose arrogance could be seen from fucking space. But yeah, so Keir Starmer needs to do that in reverse to Boris Johnson. Needs to say, hey, let's have a general election. Let's have a general election. Why don't we have a general election? To which Boris Johnson say, well, now's not the time. Now's not the time. There's a war in Ukraine, a vaccine rollout, blah, blah, blah. But, you're scared. You're scared of it because you know what the people think. You know what the people think. People hate you. Everyone hates you. Why don't you go home and eat worms? So yeah, on that note, so I'm going to be back soon. I don't know if I will be back this weekend. I hope I can get back, but obviously we have the refugees coming to stay with us, and obviously be turning the house over, and there's a lot of things to be done. And obviously I don't want to make them feel unwelcome by saying, hey, I'm going to go and talk to people on the internet for an hour, bye. But I will try and get onto the Discord server, which I have been sadly neglecting over the last few months, and I'm really sorry about that. I hope you've all been using it, chatting amongst yourselves. And I will be with you presently. I don't want to give a definite time because I just don't know. Everything's still up in the air. But if we get the Labour Social stuff into gear and we know that we've got a source of income for it, that means that we can definitely put a weekly schedule. It'll be a mixture of daily videos, but also live shows in which we get to interview various political figures from the left. And you'll get to hear what they have to, what they think about different topics and stuff like that. So that, hopefully this is all going to segue into that, and that's going to be good. I don't think I'm going to be able to go on Labour Social and call Boris Johnson a cunt. So enjoy it while you can. Right. Thanks so much for watching. Thank you very much for the super chats. I'm sorry if I missed any, and I'll speak to you soon. Until then, hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.